Now, the first principle would be to correct your world outlook, to correct your beliefs. This is the starting point. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says, there is no God worthy of worship but Allah. La ilaha illallah. They will enter paradise. So that's a general promise. A promise from Allah. Now, that promise is basically a statement of the foundational belief which everyone must have in order to attain paradise. It was the same foundation which was given to Adam and was given by all of the prophets of Allah down through the centuries. Belief in Allah first and foremost, and that He is the only one worthy of worship. Now, what we're starting with then is the concept of God's existence. For those people who are not believers then, or they're non-Muslims or whatever, this is the first question that has to be asked. Does God exist? And they need to come to the conclusion that He does exist, and that it is not only a belief taught by the world, leaders, spiritual leaders throughout history, and the true prophets of God. It is also a logical belief arrived at by philosophers. Greek philosophers of the past, through reasoning, etc., came to the same conclusion. And when we look at the alternative that this world came about by chance, and modern science now speaks of the Big Bang, everything starting with the Big Bang, and nobody speaks about what was before the Big Bang. The point is that if we think of this world as coming into existence with this Big Bang. Big Bang is like what? It's an explosion. It's an explosion. Matter exploding out into the space. Think about this. To arrive at this earth with all of its complex life forms, the ecosystems and everything, this planet revolving around the sun at the right distance and everything from the sun to sustain life and all the different factors that are involved, to say that this was a product of an explosion, which involved matter expanding without any kind of direction and programming, that is like saying, I will drop a bomb in a junkyard, and when it explodes, I'm going to find in it a car that I can get in and drive off with, or a toaster that I can put my bread in and toast, or anything, a refrigerator. Just as common sense tells us, no matter how many bombs you drop in a junkyard, you're never going to produce a car or a refrigerator or even a toaster from a bomb dropping in a junkyard. Well, that is as stupid and as foolish as it is to say that this world was a result of the Big Bang. No. Scientists who are open-minded admit that early compressed matter that was there before that Big Bang actually took place, or within seconds of its taking place, within nanoseconds of its taking place, already each and every atom was already told where it had to be. To produce what we have, it had to already have known where it had to be. That is the reality. Otherwise it couldn't happen. Any more, as I said, than a bomb in a junkyard producing that. Modern science has told us a couple of years back, scientists researching in mental cases, people who have schizophrenia and other mental illnesses, experimenting, putting probes into people's brains. Right? They would bore holes in the skull and stick a probe in and wiggle it around and see what happens. Maybe it will cause a change. This is Western experimentation. What they found was that there is a spot in the front of the brain which each and every person that they put the probe in and they wiggled it around there, the person would have these massive religious experiences, a sense of God being present kind of thing. So they named it, and this was in an article, this is produced by scientists in America, they call it the God spot. It's a big article, I have the article, and if you want it I can fax it to you. They said, God spot found in the brain. They put it another way, one of them was saying, the brain is hot-wired for belief in God. These are the evidences. Modern science is finding it itself. And if we look in the Quran, there's a fairly recent discovery which I think is worth reflecting on for a minute, and that is Surah Al-Hadid, the 57th chapter of the Quran. In verse 25, Allah says there, وَأَنزَلْنَا الْحَدِيدِ فِيهِ بَأْسٌ شَدِيدٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. That is, I have revealed, that's how it's usually translated, I have revealed, or I have sent down iron, which has great force in it, strong force and benefit for humans. Now the term anzalna was translated as revealed, interpreted as revealed from the early generation of interpreters, because the word anzalna does also mean reveal. But even when Allah uses the term, وَأَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الذِّكْرَ, for example, the Quran, and we reference the Prophet Muhammad that Allah revealed the Quran to him, it did actually involve a coming down. The Quran was sent down from the Lawh al-Mahfuz down to Bayt al-Izzah in the first heaven, and from there Angel Jibril used to take verses according to Allah's instruction down to the Prophet ﷺ. So there was a process of coming down. Now modern science, in looking at the issue of iron in the world, they came to the conclusion that the origin of iron was from the core of the earth, because the core of the earth is approximately 35% iron and then nickel. This is the core, the molten solid followed by molten core of the earth. And as you go farther away from the core, you get less and less iron until you get in the crust of the earth some 5.6% iron. Still, it is amongst the highest elements in the crust, percentage-wise. But still, it appears to come from the inside outward. So where does the idea of the coming down of iron fit in? Again, the conclusion was it was revealed. That is, knowledge of its use was revealed to human beings. Allah gave them the capacity to understand and to utilize iron. This was the explanation given. However, more modern research came to the conclusion that in fact iron couldn't have begun in the core of the earth. It couldn't have begun there. Why? Because the sun of our solar system, which is the hottest location in the whole solar system, in its own core, it only reaches, according to their calculation, approximately 15 million degrees Celsius. 15 million degrees. I mean, of course, this is quite hot. However, it is not hot enough to produce iron.